Show you guys what I'm doing here. Nothing scientific, nothing tricky, but you're looking at my two compost bins below my rain barrels, and just cleaned out the one on the right the other night. Shoveled the rest of the compost from it in around the red potatoes, which might be why they're doing so good. But now I'm turning the one on the left. It was almost full, and here recently when I dug up all my chard and my cabbage and all that other stuff, I had a lot of greens that threw on top of it, and that pretty well stuffed the bin full. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it now, turn it over into the right bin, and let's let y'all, I guess, I don't know, watch me transfer a couple forkfuls. I do recommend using a pitchfork. People think with dirt, you got to use a shovel. Not true. Pitchfork, even if all you get's a little forkful like that. See the eggshells in there. Eggshells are great. I can smell the horse manure in here still, composting. There's some cabbage leaves and bottoms. And we're just turning it. Mostly I want to get this greener stuff on bottom to cook it down. But you want to turn it to get air into it. You want your bacteria to get airflow. And here, my wife decided these potatoes weren't any good anymore because they, I don't know, I guess they'd been in the pantry for a week or something, so they weren't any good, so she told me to throw them out. And a couple of them were getting soft. But now they've been buried in the compost pile for 2 weeks, and they're still good. They're still firm. You can still cook them and eat them. But, gotta keep her happy, and I get to be a little bit stingy sometimes too, so throw them on the compost pile. I did have an interesting thing happen with some potatoes that I threw when I was planting my own potatoes. I had a few chunks left over that didn't have any eyes on them, and I threw those into my worm bin, and the dadgum thing sprouted. Now those had to be the happiest potatoes in the world, growing in pure worm castings. But I went in and I busted them up, ripped them up into little pieces again, and left them in there for the worms to have at. So anyway, I'm not going to bore you guys with any more of this. I'm transferring it over. I've got a little bit of horse manure that's left right over there to the left. I'm going to go ahead and put some of that in on top of the compost pile as well. But hopefully I can get down here to the next couple of slats, and what'll be in the bottom of this compost bin will actually be good compost already, so I won't have to transfer all of it, and I'll have some good soil that I can put on the garden because I got a few spots that I need to fill it in. So that's it. So that's all I'm going to do for now. I've got all the green stuff transferred over here that was on there, the cabbage leaves and whatnot, and I've dug down on this bed, or this compost bin, and I've got down to where I'm not really seeing anything real identifiable anymore, just a couple of bits of dried leaves and stuff, but no chunks, no stems, no whole plants, so that might all be good stuff. And I think that's about where I was when I filled that bin originally, and I filled it up with, I was layering it with horse manure and chopped leaves, so might be down to some good stuff there. And then just my little pile over here. This was my pure horse manure, or at least shoveled out of the barn lot, so I guess there's some hay in there and some sand and dirt, but mostly horse manure that I got from my buddy. But I wanted to mention to you guys the wildlife that is in my compost bins, one of which just bit my leg. It's the dadgum fire ants. I don't know why they like the compost bin so much. I suppose they get in here and feed on the organic material just like anything else would. I don't know what you do about fire ants in your compost bin. I just try to work around them. If I'm feeling real mean, I'll dump some orange oil on them when I see them, but most of the time I just kind of let them be. You know, it irritates me when one bites me like that. She managed to crawl up my jeans and down inside my boot and get me. But anyway, that's it for now on the compost bins. Hopefully I've got some good material there I can put on the garden. And I think I'm going to go in here and make a little update on my worm farm. I had a guy ask me how my worms were doing, so I'll go in there and do an update on my worm bed. I'm going to put up probably half a dozen videos today. This so on with the compost bin, what I was talking about earlier. When I ended that last little bit, my plan was to leave that compost bin for the most part open, and you know, start filling it in with just weeds and stuff. I was going to weed out all this area here and put all that into that compost bin there. And then my wife decided she was in a good mood and felt like pulling weeds, which her and I haven't weeded flower beds for 2 years since we've owned the place, and you know, I wasn't going to discourage her, so I went out there and helped her. Well, here's what we ended up with, was all these, a lot of that actually is, I don't know, some of you guys that are from the South might recognize these purple vines. I don't know what the heck it's called, but very, very prolific vine, good ground cover, and also this, I think it's airplane plant or something, whatever that green vine, or green bush is there. Those things had just taken over one of the flower beds, which is fine, but they had taken over to the point that you couldn't rake the leaves out of the flower bed because it was just so full of those plants, and my wife was determined to get the leaves, and so she pulled all those pretty flowers out. And so I put them on the compost bin. And then I do have there's also some weeds in there that I pulled, and I had an area out front where we removed some hedge bushes, and since then a lot of weeds have grown in that space, so I pulled all those out. But I'll show you a little bit of passive composting that I'm doing here on my walkways in my garden. See, I have the walkway there down the middle, and the walkway there down the middle of the raised beds. This is a real easy way you guys can compost and get some double use out of your space that you have. Is these are all the leaves and left of the mulch and little bits of sticks and stuff that were underneath those bushes we tore out. So I just spread all that out here, which I know still got some humps and piles there and back there. I'll spread it all out as level as I can, and I'll just let that become my walkway. And yeah, it'll take it a year or a little bit more. It'll compost down real nice, and then I'll just take my pitchfork or my shovel and just flip it right into the raised beds and fill them back up. So it's a real easy way. Like I said, it's a passive compost, real simple way to kind of get some free compost and not have to have it piled up in a bin. And you know, also will keep the weeds at bay a little bit in your walkways, or at least it should, I suppose. So anyway, just thought I'd share that with you guys. Just another little idea. Again, it's not original, it's not my idea, but I'm just passing it on. Happy gardening.